Hi all, welcome to my channel again. So in this session, we are going to discuss about Kubernetes important interview questions. In the previous sessions, I have almost showed you everything like about the secrets, config maps, persistent volume claim, and how to create namespaces and everything I have discussed in the previous session. So you can go and watch those videos before watching this video as it will give you a better understanding. So if you before proceeding, if you want to check out this blog, you can check that from this link which I will be keeping in the description box. Now let's start. What is Kubernetes and why it is important? Kubernetes is the container orchestration tool. So the container is used to package the application to run it on any system, and this container functionality is managed by the Kubernetes. So, for example, your company or the project is having one or more than two or three containers, like many number of containers your organization is having. So, for manage all of those containers, we need some orchestration tools. Example, if you want to check out a file which is present inside the containers or not, then you need to check manually by going to every container. So instead of that, if you have this uh, orchestration tool, then it will get easier. So for that purpose, we use the container orchestration tool. That type of purposes. So some of the advantages are host containerized workloads and automatically manages large number of containerized applications, keeping them healthy and available by adapting to changes and challenges. Okay, these all get managed automatically in the Kubernetes. Now next is what is the difference between the Docker Swarm and Kubernetes. You might have heard the both the terms. Docker Swarm is simple to set up and run. You can be off and running with creating services in moments. To manage a swarm, you use the same Docker command line interface, Docker CLI. You use to build images, run containers on your workstation. So this makes for a greater degree of approachability for Docker users. Kubernetes, on the other hand, uses different command line interface, which is kubectl. It has many similarities to the Docker interface, but it's a separate executable with more commands to know. Kubernetes also has a vast array of configuration and authentication options. This gives much greater flexibility than Docker Swarm, so but at the cost of having much more you need to know. So that's how you can answer when they ask the question. Next, how does Kubernetes handle network communications between containers? So, internet to service networking using the internet directly is critical. So, we have the ingress and egress techniques helps to set up external access. These two policies are set up with either blacklisting or whitelisting to control the traffic in and out of a network. So that is about um, that is about how we handle the network communication between the containers, you can say. And then container to container networking, it is straightforward for containers situated in the same pod to communicate with each other. Then pod to pod networking. So pod in Kubernetes are allocated a unique IP addresses which they use to communicate with each other. Then pods to service networking. Containers can go down at any moment, which may lead to the loss of all data stored in them. Same way, pods have IP addresses that may disappear unexpectedly. So we require the services. So an abstraction which is like each pod gets allocated a single IP address. So since this Kubernetes will replace the lost IP addresses with new ones, An abstraction layer at the top of the node solve the problem. Okay, so Kubernetes service handle the abstraction layer. This service assigns a single IP address to each set of pods, enables the routing of traffic addresses to a pod through the virtual IP address of the service. So that's how you can access the networking between the pod to pod and the pod to service and container to container and then external from internet to the service. Next, how does Kubernetes handle the scaling of applications? So Kubernetes uses replicas to maintain the accountability of running the pods and ensures a fixed amounts of pods are running each time, even if due to some more issues a pod goes down, it automatically comes up based on the CPU utilization. So Kubernetes provides scalability to maintain application stability. That's how you can answer when this question get asked. And what is Kubernetes deployment? How does it differ from a replica set? Kubernetes deployment is the methodology of rolling the updates of an application without making the services down. So deployment files have a set of features that define the application configurations, which include the replicas, whereas replica sets provide the replicas for the running of the pods on the top of this additional configuration combined to form Kubernetes deployment. That's how you can answer. And then can you explain the concept of rolling updates in Kubernetes? Rolling updates is a feature in Kubernetes that allows users to update the application without causing the downtime. So we can follow the following actions: promote an application from one environment to another. There are container image updates and rollback to previous versions, and the continuous integration and continuous delivery of applications with zero downtime. How does Kubernetes handle network security and access control? Kubernetes uses rollback access control method to set a network policies to handle its network and access controls. Network policies are defined to limit the traffic external networks coming to specific clusters. So, access control policies restrict the access of unwanted users and allow only users with specific permissions. So that's how you can answer. And can you give an example of how Kubernetes can be used to deploy a highly available application? So Kubernetes uses replicas in the Kubernetes configuration file, which is responsible for making a fixed number of pods available at all times. Let's say a pod goes down due to some issue, then the application would become unstable and could go down. Here we define the replicas which contain the number of pods to be available all the time. So the Kubernetes uses load balancer that distributes the incoming traffic between the pods, which makes the application highly available. Kubernetes uses network policies that may prevent application vulnerability, which vulnerability means not being accessible to the outside world. So that's how it works. You can answer the questions like this. This is just a part 1. I will again pose the part 2 about the Kubernetes important questions, interview questions. You can go through that. And thanks for watching until then. And if you want to check out this blog, you can check that from this link which I will be keeping in the description box. Yeah, thanks for watching.